Did I tell you about the loyalty cards for when you go in a coffee shop, you buy 10 coffees, do you have that and get a stamp and then you get a free one? But do you know what that is? You have that? Okay. So remember the three natures. Okay, wait. Okay, the three natures. So, yeah. So we have the moving, intellectual, emotional nature. Okay. Did you do any effort in trying to find more about your nature, understanding other people's natures, things like that? See, as you're getting, well, anyway, you keep working on it, but now I want to tell you where do you get screwed in life, whether it's business or whatever, is by being manipulated, right? So a good salesperson is a great manipulator, right? Because they have to manipulate you to buy what they're selling. One student in Vietnam, because last year I lived in Vietnam for a few months and I was teaching there. And this girl, her job is marketing. So her job is to get people to buy stuff that she herself doesn't believe in. And then, she couldn't take it because that's my job, is to get people to buy what they don't want to buy. That's what a salesperson is, okay? And in life, everything is selling. Everybody's always selling you something, okay? You go on a date, you're selling yourself to each other, right? You're selling yourself. Clothing, style, it's all about selling ourselves in the way we believe ourselves to be. When you want to buy a home, you want to rent a home, the agent is trying to sell it to you, okay? So you need to know the client's nature to be able to sell to them. Now, why this is so important is you need to know your nature if you're off balanced, so you can see when someone is trying to manipulate you. And that goes in family. Parents always, I don't know here, but I'm sure it's everywhere in the world, I sacrificed my life for you. You owe me. I did so much for you. I gave up my life for you, which is kind of true. A parent does, kind of forfeit their life when they have a kid, as you know. But my answer was, but I don't like it here on earth. I didn't want to be born. You owe me. You brought me here. You owe me. I didn't ask to come here. So, because I was born a little awakened and balanced, so they couldn't manipulate me like that. So I'd have smart answers and get smacked. But, so you need to understand the natures so you don't get manipulated. Now, okay, so the coffee cards. All right, in Dubai, there's a coffee shop that I go to all the time in one of the malls. And this young Filipino girl is working there, and it was a quiet day. There were no other customers. So I'm chatting with her, and she's young, and Filipinos are always intimidated by Westerners and that. And so she's like, and I'm chatting with her, and they have the cards, the loyalty cards, sitting there at the counter, so you can take one. So I took one and put it on the counter, and she stamped it, and I took it and put it in my pocket. And we keep chatting, and then I put it back on the table, and she's chatting and stamped it again. And again, I put it in my pocket. And we chit-chat some more and this, and as we're chatting, I put it back on the table. And she said, thought I stamped it already, but I guess not. Boom. So I got 3 stamps for 1 coffee. Because I'm balanced, she's excessive emotional nature, I played on her emotional nature, bamboozled her, you know that word? You use that here, confused her, and played on her emotion, got her all emotional, so you could get her to do anything. So you need to know what you are so that no one can manipulate you. So it's not about you manipulating others, although if you want to, you can, but it's about you not being manipulated. Now you remember the bowl with, this one, with all the holes in it, okay? If you can be manipulated, those are more holes. Fragments are holes, you lose your energy there. When you're manipulated, you lose your energy there. So all of our broken parts are holes to the bowl of our energy, okay? So we've got to fix all the broken parts so we don't lose energy. Now, what happens is as you get older, you don't have as much energy, right? That's what they say. I prove it's not true, but so why I still have unlimited energy like a 4-year-old is because I know why older people lose or don't have as much energy. Is because they lose it with feeling stupid, regrets, the broken machine, the fragments. So every time you get manipulated and you know you've been tricked, you punch a big hole in the bowl of energy. So the older you are, the more bad experiences, the more mistakes, the more holes, the more the energy leaks out, and therefore you have less energy. Okay? So that's why we need to understand all the broken parts so we fix them so that we don't continually lose energy as you get older, right? The older you are, the more jaded you become through this process. But if someone is trying to sell you something and you see that it's a bullshit, then you just laugh. You see? They can't get away with it. And you're like, yeah, nice try, but you didn't trick me. When you do that, you plug up one of the holes. Okay? So every moment of the day, it's a challenge between trying to trick you or you catching it and not getting tricked. So either you get another hole in the bowl of energy or you plug a hole. You either get more fragments or you have less fragments. Okay? So by watching for all these things. All right, so you know the process, how every event goes through the identification fragments, the buffers to justify which your nature is, which mind is it? The body mind. I mean, that's another way to manipulate people, right? If you flatter someone, you look so pretty. Oh, I love that dress you're wearing, and I love your hair, and all these flattering things. Doesn't that make you just go, oh? And then you're so easy to trick, right? Your skill is amazing. You're like the best yoga teacher ever. I've had so many yoga teachers, but you're the best one. I learned the most from you. Flattery builds the ego, right? Plays on the ego mind. Then it's easier to get you to work cheap or free, right? So, I can say, oh, you're good at yoga, but I'm a great teacher. I can teach you things that you would never learn otherwise. So your body is like, yeah, I want my body to be better. I want better skills. So I play on the body mind. That's going to feel, you'll have so much more energy. You'll be so much stronger. And you have to pay me 50,000 shillings for the course. And you're like, yeah, but the body mind says, oh, I can be so much better and stronger. And again, okay? So you see, it's the nature that we play on. You know, you're the smartest lawyer I've ever met. I've never met a lawyer as smart as you. You're really brilliant. You're the greatest. I puff you up, and all of a sudden, yeah, but I have a quick one for you. Can you just do this for me for free? Right? So you can play on the nature of the person. You can play on which mind it is, and easily manipulate anybody once you have the understanding and the balance, okay? But right now you have to learn where you're getting manipulated to stop that. No matter how subtle it is, it's always going to be a game in this world. It's always been that way, a game of manipulation. All right? So then your reaction, once you catch where you're being manipulated, and then what do you do? Now, do you get angry? Are you an activist saying, people shouldn't do this sort of thing? We have to stop this thing. Or do you leave the knife on the table and just laugh and say, bet? Or do nothing and just walk away. Okay? So you see now how much more practical the work is. Okay? And how important it is to understand your own being. Right? And then your decision. What do you do? Right? Okay. All right. So, all good so far? Good recap. Now, the decision is like flying an airplane, like anything. If you know your destination, you will go there directly. But if you have no idea, like I say, please do me a favor, get me that thing from over there. Go get me that thing from over there. What are you going to do? You're going to walk around the whole apartment, this, right? But if I say, please get me my phone pouch on the table, go get it. Okay. Now, our decision of what to do will depend on our what's called your chief aim for your life. What is the point and purpose for your whole life? Remember how we talked about that before, right? What's your goal for your life? And a meaning, a purpose, a value. Have you given that thought? You must give that a lot more thought. And it's not about your career. It's not about, I want to be famous or something. It has to be something that means something to you. And not something that achieve before you die. Because then what happens after you die? Okay? Now, you're young women, you have a family, you want to be a mother, you want to have a family, but you want a career. You want to do something with your life. Okay? 100 years ago, a woman only said, I want to be a housewife and mother. That's it. And that's okay, except that those kids grow up, and then you're too old to have more babies. So your babies are gone. You're no longer a mother. So what do? You lay the guilt trip on your children to have babies so you can start all over again by being the grandmother. Okay? So again, understand what you're going through, what this world is about, so you can break the cycle and attain freedom. Okay. So you need a chief aim for your life. Okay? Yoga, you want to be able to levitate. You know, if you do yoga. I mean, whatever your goal is, it has to be something that's of value, because the stronger the goal, the clearer your chief aim for your life, then it's easier to make a decision. Because when you have to decide how to react to a certain situation, you have to have, well, why should I choose this reaction instead of that reaction? You need a reason to decide which reaction to take. Okay? So, you must have a chief aim. Now, remember we talked about the vessels that have been smashed to pieces. And our only reason for existence that has any value is reassembling that vessel. In other words, you can call it unity with God, you can call it enlightenment, you can call it nirvana, whatever you want, but to become awake. Okay? You know, Buddha isn't a name, Buddha is a word. And it's a word in Pali meaning awakened. I'm awake. So the story is, how did Buddha become known as Buddha? Okay. Yeah. Okay, whoa, 4. Oh my goodness, this is a lot of people coming in. Okay. Okay, we've got 3. Yeah, that's enough chairs. All right. Hello. Okay, hello. Okay, well, we've already started since it's 3:15. So we'll continue. Okay, I'll just back up a bit, get you settled down, sit down. That's funny. You like to be all squished together instead of spread on the chairs. Okay. All right, Okay, I'll back up just a little bit. So we talked last time, remember, about the reaction to events. Then you have to make a decision of what reaction to take, okay? So the decision is based on your chief aim, your purpose for your life. What are you really living for? You need a very emotional, powerful reason. Now, you know, law of attraction, have your goal and all of that, right? Okay, it doesn't work. 99% of the time, the only person who reaches their goal is the one selling the program because they make money, okay? Now, they don't tell you the truth about it. Now, I've read about the concept of law of attraction in the Hermetica, which is found in Nag Hammadi in Egypt, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, these ancient scrolls. It's dated over 3,000 years ago. Okay, so even there, it is written about the concept of law of attraction, okay? But what they don't tell you is that you need a goal that you have a tremendous emotion about. You have to be ready to die trying. You need a really burning emotion to achieve this goal, right? So what I call your chief aim, your aim for your life, has to be powerful, emotional, so that you're willing to do whatever it takes to achieve it, right? Just to remind you, remember we were talking about that God made these vessels and smashed them to pieces and threw the pieces to earth. So our job is simply reassemble the vessel to become awakened, right? So I was just saying now, the Buddha isn't a name, Buddha is a word from the Pali language meaning awake. So how Buddha became to be known as Buddha, his name was actually Siddhartha Gautama. And when he became enlightened, he was walking, and some holy men saw and said, are you an angel? No, 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 I'm not. Are you a god? Because they could see he's so special, right? No, 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 I'm not. Then what are you? He said, I'm awake. So the best chief aim in life is to become awake, which is the same as reassembling the vessel. It means completed. It's like having the matchstick, and you're holding the matchstick backwards, and no matter how many times you strike it, it's not going to make fire, right? Because you are asleep. You do not realize that within you is the capacity that all you have to do is turn the matchstick around and you get fire, okay? And that potential is within you, but you don't know it because you are asleep. Okay, so that's the other concept. You think you are awake, but you're asleep. Now, the proof is, how many times do you do something and have no idea what you did 10 minutes ago, half an hour ago? When you go from home to work, do you remember anything you saw on the way? But yet you are able to go through your life and not remember anything that's happening in moment to moment because you're asleep right through it. Okay? So the goal is to be awake. Now, how does that goal become burning emotional desire for this awakened goal? By proving to yourself how asleep you are and how you're spending your whole life striking the match from the wrong end and nothing is happening. Okay, so remember I said if you want to run the fastest, you're truly top speed, you have a hungry lion chase you. Because now it's my life. So, the more you establish through practice, observation, that you are in fact asleep throughout your life, and that you're spending your whole life doing nothing, that the fragments get you going in circles, that your emotional swings are wasting energy, the more you observe yourself, the more you should, it's a strong word, but please take it as words have no meaning. Is that a person or a ghost? Okay. All right. I mean, we got a lot of people today. I didn't expect more. Okay. That the more you see how asleep you are, how broken you are, you should develop a strong hatred for being asleep. Okay? So you remember also I said, imagine how your life is and it will stay the same until you die. your whole life, that should scare you a lot. Now, hate, anger, much better to have than love if you want to change. Because if you love yourself, I'm awesome, I'm great, I love myself, I accept myself. What are you going to do to change? Nothing. But if I hate how I am, I hate this limitation, I really cannot stand it. Now there's power, energy. That's how we get this burning emotion for our chief aim in life, which is to awaken and master our life so we can then choose to have any life we want. Okay? So, look through all of these things. Observe how you do things that you're asleep. Clumsy things. You knock something over. The glass is sitting there and you hit it and knock it over. So, how stupid am I? How could I do that? Have you ever done that? Knock over something silly? And did you ever think, if I think objectively, right? How could I don't have some kind of, disease where my hand is going like this. How could I do something that clumsy? It's right there. Okay? Look for that. All day, every day, watch for when you are asleep and do clumsy things, forget things. You're talking to someone, they're talking to you, and you're having a conversation, and then, what did you say? Because you were asleep. You were having a conversation. They knew you're talking to them, they're talking to you, but you slept through the conversation. Right? Okay. So look for that and realize these are the reasons your life will never change. It will stay the same forever. Okay? Now Gandhi said, Gandhi from India, right? He said, I should say it like Gandhi said, I'm a very angry man. I'm a very, very angry man, except I've learned to use my anger to focus and give me the energy and power to do what I'm doing to fight the British. Okay? So anger is good when it is angry for an injustice. It is an injustice that we are so stupid, that we live our lives like complete robots, idiots in limitation. And life is where it is. It is terrible. This is what my anger was. So since I'm a kid, my anger is, why must I have no money at 12 years old? I have to work to buy my own shoes when I'm seeing everyone around me with so much money, because we lived in a wealthier neighborhood. At 16 years old, you can get your driver license in Montreal. And you know what? In the school I went to, the hardest decision these kids had to make was, do I want a Porsche, a Mercedes, a Jaguar for my 16th birthday? And here I am struggling just to survive. So this injustice, why do some succeed so well while others suffer, when usually the ones suffering are the better quality human being, usually, and that anger for the injustice is what gave me the power to do what I did. I worked 11 years, every day. Christmas Day, New Year's Day, average day was 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. for 11 years until I took one day off. That's a lot of work. It works out to like 60 years of 40-hour weeks in a period of 11 years. Because I was angry, so angry for this injustice. So that's angry for an injustice. So anger in that way is very good. Now when you're getting angry at, okay, the difference, for something, at something. Angry at this person because they're an asshole. That person because they're stupid and incompetent. That person because they're a cheater. When you're angry at something, just to be angry at something, that's bad. That's wasting energy. That's negative emotion that destroys you. Whereas angry for an injustice is power that invigorates you. Okay? So, remember, I always say, right? I don't want a flock of sheep. My work is for people who really want to change. And you're willing to do whatever it is to change, to become a master of your own life, a lion in the world. And lions don't kill for pleasure. They're hungry, they take one animal, they eat, and they're done. So to be a lion doesn't mean you devour everybody and everything. It means no one controls you, and you take what you need to survive. But your level of survival might be a mansion with 6 cars. I don't know. You know, everyone has their own level of survival. Okay. So that is, getting angry for the injustice doesn't wear you down. Getting angry at somebody stupid or this or that, things like that, that wears you down. All right? So angry at demotivates you, burns your energy, makes you depressed, makes you tired and weak. Angry for makes you stronger. It also opens the doors to creativity. Remember, like we said at this one, angry for injustice, whether it's towards you, preferably only towards you. When it's towards other people, the poor people starving out there, that's just diverting from looking at yourself. You know, people who fight for these charities of all the poor people, they're often messed up themselves. You know, I met a lot of people from the yoga, and they met with me afterwards from that talk I gave at the yoga place, and they wanted to meet me, about 3 or 4 of them. And they all want to do charity. Their lives themselves are messed. They're not fixing their life because they want to do charity and help poor people. I said, well, if your life is a mess, what can you do for other people, right? So, angry for injustices in the world, forget it. Don't do that. It's a diversion from you putting the effort to yourself, okay? What you need to do is the injustices towards you in your life. So you gain freedom. Once you're free, then okay, you might do some charity, okay? But first, your freedom, so that's it. So remember, once you're fighting angry for the injustices of your limitation, having the matchstick and not knowing that you have to turn the stick over to get fire, you'll get creativity, personal growth, and physical energy. All of that really increases, okay? So angry for the injustice of your life is invigorating, so don't be scared of that anger. Just be careful, don't be angry at stupidities. Let it go, because there's nothing you can do to change it. All right? So we're here to wake up, and you wake up by seeing you're asleep. It's that simple. Everyone says, well, how do I wake up? See that you're asleep. Think about it. If you are knowing you're asleep, you cannot be asleep. Because when you're asleep, you don't know that you're asleep, right? So the process is as simple as seeing when you are asleep and doing things that require you to be awake, like standing on your toes when you brush your teeth. The sensation of the brush, you standing on your toes as high as you can, tapping your finger quickly and counting in your mind 1, 2, 3, slowly, 1 to 10 repeatedly. So anything you do, when you pick up the cup, do you sense right now the texture of the handle of the cup, the pull of the muscles and ligaments having your fingers curled around the handle? You're aware of these things when you pick it up, when you put it down. When you put down the glass or the cup, are you aware of bonk, like this, bang it? Or are you aware, oh, it's close, put it gently so it doesn't make noise and go bang? Okay? That requires you to be awake. But when you see someone else, just put the glass down. Ah, you see, look how asleep you are. Okay? It's that simple. To wake up is simply, remember the opposites? It is as simple as not being asleep to wake up. All right? Okay, so I've given you a lot of thoughts there. Any questions about all of that before we proceed to the new things for today? It's good. But you all can see where you're asleep, right? And you can see how many mistakes, not how many, every mistake you made was because you were asleep. Right? You cannot have an accident if you're awake, because you'd see whatever it is and you wouldn't have an accident. Okay? So Think about all the times you've been asleep, all the mistakes you've made, see that. And remember this. Now, this is where you get depressed because you, oh my God, I'm such a mess. I'm worthless, okay? Just always remember, you are what you are through no fault of your own. You are not currently, now you have to take control because you know the truth. But previously, you are nothing more than a victim of the way humanity has been designed. And humanity is designed to make sure everyone stays asleep. So as I told you, like in the Upanishads, it said, as humans have animals to serve their purpose, so the gods have the human animals and they do not want them to awaken, so that they use these animals to serve their purpose. So our world is designed to keep us asleep. Now we can see it in governments. In New Zealand, for example, the New Zealand government is called a nanny society, where they don't let you think things for yourself. Everything is done by the government. You don't even have full access to do things on your own bank account because they say, no, you might make a mistake, so we don't let you do that, right? So everything is controlled by the government. A friend of mine was side by side with Margaret Thatcher. You know, she was PM of UK for a long time. A very tough, good prime minister, apparently. Anyway, he was side by side. He was her first aide, always with her. And he said she'd often say, we need to dumb down the society. We need to dumb down the people. Because when people are dumb and asleep, they're very easy to control, right? So be it a spiritual thing, be it a government thing, be it a family thing, whatever it is, human society is designed to keep you asleep. So you're easy to manipulate and control. So all of these negative things you'll see about yourself, at the same time, remind yourself, wow, look what I was bred to be. And why? Because a human child is the stupidest creature in the world because you believe anything, right? I remember seeing this lady walking with her kid. He's maybe 5 years old, 6 years old in New Zealand. And she's giving him something to eat. And he says, no, I don't like it. And she says, yes, you do. And he goes, I do? Yes, yes, you love this. Really? Yeah, you love this. Oh, okay. So for those of you with children, you know how gullible they are. And you just have to remember that you were the same. Okay? So you look for all the flaws in you, and at the same time you remember, look what they did to me, and now I can totally change everything. Right? So that way you don't become negative or hopeless or depressed by seeing what a broken machine you are. It becomes encouraging because you cannot see you're broken if you are asleep. So the most encouraging thing is to see that you are broken because, wow, at this moment that I see how broken I am, this moment that I see I am asleep, at this moment I am awake. And this is what I can be. And you will see, it gives you a rush of energy. It's like a shot of adrenaline at that moment. And then you say, ooh, I like being awake. So it becomes more encouraging, okay? So it's very important to do that because you don't want to get depressed and, oh, I'm such a mess, stick the knife in your heart, poor me, right? You don't want that, okay? All right, okay, so questions about all this? It's clear, right? You can see every example I made in your life, right? And you can see, okay, so you can see how to change and the importance of a chief aim for your life to be awakened. And then, wow, life is great. And then, you know, like smile at everyone. Okay, I'm leaving on Sunday, right? So I've been here 3 months in this apartment. So the security guards all love me. And now they're all, I told one, I'm leaving on Sunday. All of them are talking to each other and they're all saying, oh, you know, you're our favorite client, you're our favorite resident. We never had someone so nice as you. I'm going to miss you so much and this, right? Then you know you're awake. When other people's lives have changed simply because your demeanor is so happy and friendly and open, and that's what they said. You're so nice, you're smiling, you talk to us, you're such a nice person, right? So, and doing things like that. Like you don't just, you're ordering your food and you don't even look at the server. You look at the server, look at them in the eyes and smiling. Every moment that you can be present changes their life, but it's you. And then you start to feel very happy. So what is a better life? Miserable and depressed or really happy? Again, chief aim. I want to feel happy all the time. That could be your chief aim. I don't want to feel depressed or miserable or this or that. I want to feel happy, energetic all the time, okay? So you find your chief aim. Ultimately, the best is to be awakened, to feel happy and positive and full of energy all the time, okay? But you'll think about that. All right, so we'll move on now. Okay. This is not a part of the machine, but this is a universal law, the same as the law of gravity, right? They call it a law. So we call this a law. There's the law of gravity, everything will fall, and we cannot change that law. By the same token, we have the law of three forces: the active force, the passive force, and the neutralizing force. Now what this means, at every moment, there is something making something happen, the active force, something moving, somebody talking, and the passive force, somebody listening, somebody being moved. So there's always these two forces going back and forth. So you can start to observe in life at every moment what is moving, what is being moved, what is making that move. In whatever it could be conversation, it could be anything. The third force is the neutralizing force. Now what that is a force that comes in to change the event that's going on between the active and the passive. So you're having an argument with your partner and the phone rings. So the argument is you're switching between active and passive, right? Whoever is yelling is the active, whoever is subject to it is the passive. And it changes, goes back and forth, and the phone rings. That's the neutralizing force. That is going to break the argument. It's going to interrupt the argument. Now, you have a choice, whoever's phone that is. You can take, now, right, the reaction. So the event is, the argument is going on. The event now has become the phone rang. And now, what am I going to do? I can answer the phone or I can ignore the phone. Those are my two possible reactions. If I am more self-centered and I'm asleep, I need a distraction because I'm full of buffers and fragments, trying to justify because I'm wrong, making excuses. My reaction is, oh, thank God I got an excuse to get out of this. Take the phone call. That's my decision. Or if you're more focused, you have less fragments, you're not using the buffers to avoid the argument, the discussion, you say, ignore the phone. Your partner says, aren't you going to take it? No, you're more important. So I have those two decisions to make. I'm sure you know exactly the outcomes of either decision. If I take the call, you're going to be pissed off. And that means endless loop. That reaction, that decision to do the same thing means we're just going to argue later on. But if I choose now to be different and leave the phone to say, you're more important, that ends the argument in a totally different way because you're going to melt and say, oh, he cares about me or she cares about me more than her job or her career or whatever it is. And right away, that decision. So the neutralizing force, the phone rings. Now, I have to react. And what do I do with that? And that will determine which way the event goes. Okay? So, every event is going on. There's always an active and a passive force, and there's always going to be a neutralizing force. Two people in the office are arguing, and you're there watching. You're not involved in the argument, and you're watching. So you're all at the same management level, let's say, okay? Two of your coworkers are arguing, and you're sitting there watching. Oh boy, this is going to go on forever. All right. Now, if I do not do anything, the boss will eventually come, yell at the two of them. One may get fired, but for sure they'll both get in trouble. and then it's trouble, and then the argument is stopped, incomplete. They'll continue to hate each other, right? Now, I know about the laws, and I know about fragments, and I know about buffers. So I see the two of them are having a dialogue, which is two people talking to themselves with all their justifications. So I now choose to become the neutralizing force. And I say, guys, there's a new coffee shop. I really wanted to go try that. Come on, let's go for a coffee. And you now break the argument by becoming the neutralizing force, choosing what is the right way to end this unending conflict. And then they calm down. Okay, we go. Now we go. And again, I choose to be the neutralizing force, to tell stories, make jokes, find a way to get them to like each other again through stories of, oh, you remember we did this together, we did that together. And all of a sudden now I've healed that relationship, okay? By seeing the two forces and choosing to become the neutralizing force. And this law is how we control the world, our world. Because you not only control everything that happens to you, but you can control other people's lives and events, right? Because if I didn't break up the argument with saying go to the coffee shop and the boss came in, one might lose their job. If you lose your job, what's going to happen? The repercussions of that. So imagine a simple act of being a neutralizing force in a good, positive way can change people's lives. That's why it's so important. Now remember, we're ruled by the law of accident. Remember the law of accident. Everything just happens by accident. So if that argument is going on and I do nothing, I'm letting the law of accident bring whatever random neutralizing force will happen. So the neutralizing force always comes in to any situation. It's just what will it be? And you can find it by seeing when any situation changes. If it's an argument, how does the argument end? Okay? Now let's say we're in a country where people obey traffic lights, and there's a traffic light and it's red, and we have two cars waiting for the light. They're at the red light. Two cars waiting for the light to turn green. I'm in one, somebody else next to me. So we're now the passive force. The active force is the light, because that red light, allowing the green for the other side to go, is stopping me. See, active doesn't mean doing something. It just means controlling somebody or something, right? So the red light is active by preventing me and the other driver from going through the intersection. So we're the passive, it's active, okay? Follow? All right. Now, I'm sitting here, this guy in the car, he's busy texting. He's impatient, waiting for the light, texting, okay. And I see a pedestrian is walking across because he has a green light. So he's walking. And he's absent-mindedly texting while he's walking. And I see now the light turned yellow, the green light turned yellow, which means our red light is going to turn green, which means that the light will become from active, holding us back, will become passive, and to say we can now become active and drive through the intersection, right? And I am now sitting in my car seeing that that pedestrian is going to be right in front of that other car, both of them too busy texting, and as soon as the light is green and I move, this guy in the other car will see, oh, it's green, and just go without looking and kill the pedestrian, or at least hit him. So if I'm always looking for what's active, what's passive, I'm present, I'm awake, I see that happening, and I just blast the horn. Hoot, right? Whatever you call it on the car. The two of them, whoa, what the hell is that? They wake up, they see each other, and no accident. And they will not even know what just happened, because they're normal humans and they're asleep. But I just saved one person's life and another one from feeling horrible. Okay? So this is why we have a responsibility in a sense, but to your own life at least, to realize that you are currently, and everyone is ruled by the law of accident, things just happen, but we have the power to change every event, almost every event, not everything, but many events, by seeing what's active passive and choosing the neutralizing force. What is the right thing to do? Okay, does it make sense? All right, anybody want to give some examples of something? Where, I mean, you've seen the sort of thing where you can say an event and you can say, that was, now I can see how the neutralizing force stopped or changed the event. Right? I mean, even at home, arguments, the father and the son are arguing. What does the mother do? And remember, non-action is still action. So if the father is beating or screaming at the child and the child is arguing back, then one of the other siblings or the mother can come in and say, no, I'm sorry, let's do this, or dinner is ready, come and eat. Right? But if you do nothing, then that argument escalates. And where could that go? We all know how kids can be, right? A teenager can get so angry, runs out, steals something, gets drunk, who knows? You see? So non-action is still action. So you have to be very aware, or we'll put it this way. The decision you will make and your chief aim that your decisions are supposed to get you to. So in the case of the law of three, if you choose or not choose to be the neutralizing force, then your decision to achieve your chief aim may take detours, right? For example, I had an opportunity to purchase a property once. I had 30 seconds. I decided, yes, I'm buying it. That decision gave me an $80,000 profit within less than a year. Because I was the passive agent, the active was the man with the building offering to sell it. So the neutralizing force is going to be, do I think about it, someone else buys it? Do I pass or do I buy it? You see? So every decision, you have to know what's going on, so I now take immediate action, right? Instead of just doing nothing. I mean, sometimes it's better to do nothing also, but you have to know, okay? And the more awake you are, the easier it is to know. Now, never be scared to try, okay? So now here's the caveat to that. Like I said, the caveat to getting depressed is knowing it's not my fault. I am made this way. The caveat to this is try. Don't sit back all the time, paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong decision. You must take action, okay? So this applies to your life now going forward in a worldly sense. Whether it's do I date this guy or not date this guy, whether it's do I take this job, do I apply for this job, how do I prepare for this job application or sale or opportunity or whatever it is, okay? You cannot use the lie of everything happens for a reason, right? You remember we talked about this one, I think, right? The common thought, everything happens for a reason, which is the buffer to give you an excuse for not taking action and things fell apart and didn't work out. Right? You notice, do you all use this thing, everything happens for a reason? You know this, right? And you notice the only time you use that is when things don't work well. It's not that you believe everything happens for a reason, it's that you just take it as an excuse to walk away from your own failure. So yes, it happened for a reason, because you didn't know about the law of three forces, and you didn't take action to make it work the way you wanted. Or you did take action that screwed it up. All right? So everything happens for a reason, and often the reason is you're stupid and screwed up. So now wake up. Start to practice. always observe, look for active passive in every event and see, like for example, you push the button for the elevator and maybe you get in the elevator. So you're active, you call the elevator is passive, it responds. You now go into the elevator is passive, it's waiting for you to push a button of what floor you want to go to. What if you're asleep and you forget to push the button? You're just going to stand in the elevator. And what will happen? The law of accident will come into play, which is someone on another floor calls for the elevator. And instead of going down, you all of a sudden have stood there for a while and now you're going up. Because you were asleep, you didn't take action, and you became passive, and somebody else called the elevator who now made the elevator active to move up, and you're now passively being taken there. Now what happens is that took about 3 minutes out of your time. Like in other words, if you got in, pushed the button, went down, went out, versus you got in, you forgot to push the button, now you went up and then down. That took 3 minutes out of your life. Okay. Now those 3 minutes happen to delay you getting into the car and driving to the intersection. And because you're now 3 minutes behind where you would have been, it was just the right timing for some idiot to smash into you. And you have an accident with the car. You see? Life is very, very, very tricky. All kinds of things happen if you are asleep. I mean, it could be good timing too. Maybe a good thing happens from it, maybe. But normally what I've noticed in humans in my travels around the world, it's usually bad. It's usually problems happen because we're asleep, okay? So I want to scare you and realize that your life will never change and will most likely go a little bit downward as you get older and have less energy and waste more money and waste more time and become more disappointed with life. So it will go in a downward spiral. So you've got to be very scared and burning desire to be awake so you can be rich and have everything you want, whatever home you want, travel you want, whatever it is, okay? And that comes from the fear of knowing this is not just going to stay the same, but it will. And you can prove it if you look at, old people. And you talk to old people and you say, how has your life gone? Well, when I was young, I was full of energy and I was trying things. And as I got older, I got a little more discouraged and then I didn't try so hard. And then things just got weaker and older and I got old and tired and sick. And now I'm walking with a cane. Right? Talk to old people. Get scared. Scare yourself. That fear is the lion chasing you for dinner. And it's not a dinner invitation to eat with him. You are the dinner. Okay? All right, any question about that? It's good, but it makes sense, right? I'm scaring you enough, I hope? All right, so just because you don't see a thing does not mean it's not there, right? You can't see air, but you know it's there. You can't smell air. You can smell perfume or pollution, which those particles ride on the air, but you cannot smell air, see it, touch it, taste it, nothing. Air is totally untouchable by any of our senses, but yet we're alive because of it. So if we've established that there are definitely things in this world that exist that we have no way of proving other than the result of it, then everything I've taught you is real by virtue of you can see how these things work in life, right? Okay. So that's how you will have more confidence. And here is something else I wrote. This is the basic principle. See what will happen, right? Active, passive. I know what could happen before it happens, so you can change what will happen by being the neutralizing force to be different than what could have happened. All right? And that's your life. So you have a job, you hate it, but you stay there. You don't do anything to change it. Right? All you do is complain. Pick up the knife every day. Self-pity. Right? Whatever it may be. You say, oh, I want to travel. Oh, I need a passport. Oh, they say it can take a year or 2 years, and I have to pay a bribe to get my Kenyan passport. Say, okay, well, that's what it takes. Objectively, it's what it is. It takes time, and I have to pay the fee plus a little extra than that fee. But that's what it takes. If I want to travel, that's what I have to do. Okay? So we don't argue with the way things are. We accept the way things are, and we find what can I do as the neutralizing force to get to where my decision for my chief aim, my life goal. All right? Never argue, never complain. Of course we're going to complain. I complain too about the services in this country. But don't complain and complain and complain. Just deal with what it is, move forward. Okay?